Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about, again, the beginnings of Crystal Clear Health Limited, and this book, Your Health is Your Wealth, because this was the physical, CCH is a physical manifestation of some of the principles I talk about in Your Health is Your Wealth. I'd like to big up Hay House for publishing this book all those years ago, because the founder of Hay House, Louise Hay, wrote a book, You Can Heal Your Life. And I found that book to be a great inspiration to me as a person in my youth, coming from a very dysfunctional and toxic family life. I found Louise Hay's work really, really important in helping me. It was empowering to find the work of someone saying, yes, you can do it yourself, because I'm a sort of get up and go person. So I thought that was just a fantastic message. And then she started Hay House in the early 90s. And I thought this was amazing, because all things mind, body and spirit were coming, the inspiration was largely coming from America, California, LA, and everything they were doing with food, exercise and spirituality. So I was really big into that, even though I a philosophy degree and sociology degree. The practical nature of what is offered, mind, body, almost like a practical philosophy. That's what mind, body, spirit is. It's a practical philosophy, as opposed to all the stuff, the theoretical stuff I was reading in books. So I read Louise Hay's work. I also read authors like Caroline Myss, who were talking about the body and how the messaging we give ourselves through our body, through our thoughts. And I thought all this work, Celestian prophecy, how much, we communicate through, our energies communicate to each other, and how negative energy can come upon you, with energy vampires, and all stuff like that I was reading in the early 90s. But that was all after I'd written my book, believe it or not, because by the age of, my early 20s, I'd finished my degree, I was rather bored, and I thought, I better just crack on and write a book about something that I'd experienced, because as a child I knew I always wanted to be a writer. So I thought, well, I've got a method here that I think can work for other people. I decided that I wanted to work, first of all, in fitness. I'd done all my exams, all my qualifications, and then I set about writing how I had healed myself and how I was helping other people to become fitter, healthier, happier human beings through fitness. So a lot at the moment is going on about the power of exercise. And for me, I discovered that as a child. Without exercise, I don't believe I would have been able to do my exams, focus, heal my body from all the allergies and stuff that I suffered. Exercise was fundamental to my life, and still is to this day. From the time I was little, I started running at about 7 or 8 years old, and I basically didn't stop. In 1999, I helped to launch Niketown, when Nike took over the space in Oxford Circus, and Niketown, all things Nike became fashionable and trendy, and I was part of that trend as a model to work with them to launch Niketown. So exercise, nutrition, my triad, my golden triangle is nutrition, exercise, mental health, spirituality, how you feel about yourself. Those are the three basic things that I had learned in my early 20s that were fundamental to being happy. I didn't have all the studies that are now available about mental health and how dopamine, serotonin and all the positive hormones are affected by exercise. But what I did have was the effects, and sort of from a phenomenology or an ethnomethodological sort of method, scientific method of experience, I simply wanted to record all the results that I was getting with clients and stuff like that. and how better they felt in themselves as people, the effect on their personality, the effect on their body, and the control they had on the food they were eating. So what was the main story of Your Health is Your Wealth? Well, Your Health is Your Wealth, the main story is all about changing your lifestyle to change your body. At that time, people, I mean, we were doing a lot of crazy things. I was working with models. I'd been a model. There was a lot of starvation, and the cult of the thin was prevalent when I was younger. And I really don't believe in that, because I came from a culture, West Indian culture, where strength is more appreciated than being thin. So that was never going to work for me. And in sport, from being in sport all my life, it was just like, it's all about strength, power, speed, agility. So obviously in sport, I had very positive role models. I had a mother who was very strong, tiny, but very physically strong, both mentally and physically. And I just thought, well, if I could help, especially women, feel happier in their bodies by not having to be thin and feeling good about themselves, because they were strong, these strong, powerful creatures, which I know as to be. And men, they are strong, and even some of the men I train don't really tap into their strength, their physical strength, because men are stronger than women physically, but they stand back from that because for whatever reason they don't want to show that. So one of my fundamental messages was that in order to change your body, you need to change your lifestyle. You need to change how you think, what you're putting inside of your body, and you need to move about a lot more, because already, even by the mid-90s, there were so many studies coming out about we're becoming very too sedentary. So that was fundamental, that I had to get people moving. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm not a person who likes to sit down very much. I like to move about a lot. But when I write, obviously I have to sit down quite a bit. So that's the negative for me. It's just like I have to sit still. And that's probably the reason why I couldn't do an office job and just sit in an office, because for me that's a death, basically. There are certain behaviours that are just like, they're never going to work with me. So that was one of the main stories. The other issue that I was struggling with in society was that a lot of blame was going on people, the public, as being responsible for being out of shape, being this, being that. And I thought, well, let's look at what information you're actually giving them. So I did a lot of research about what was going on in the media. And what I found was that actually the public are receiving confusing and conflicting information. And this goes on to this day. The situation has not improved. There is a lot of confusing and conflicting information about how to become healthy. So I laid out in this book, the first book, a system of how you could become fit and healthy if you take on the proponents that I was advocating in this book. And then I started CCH, and I just basically used that system over the years to help my clients to achieve what they wanted to achieve. And another aspect of the book that I was very much for was the my words today are going bonkers, but it's the individual nature of anyone's body, mind, how they think, how they move. We were in a society that wants homogeny, everybody to be the same. And for me, no, we cannot be the same, because everyone's body is coming from a different genetic background with all these different variables about what will work and what won't work. And that's what's fantastic about teaching. You get to learn, especially in London, with the diversity of body shapes from people from all over the world, all different cultures, that the body is a very unique thing, each person's body, and the mixing that has gone on amongst people have created these very individual body types and body shapes. So some people would feel that oppressed by the bombardment of one body shape in the media. And over the last few decades, a lot has changed. We've had a whole body positivity sort of campaign throughout the media to accept different body shapes, different body types. And that to me has been positive, because it's an acceptance that we're all different. And you know, I wasn't putting myself out there to say you can be like me. I was putting myself out there to say get to know yourself. And when you get to know yourself, you'll find a peace and a harmony with what you should be, not what you're seeing in magazines, on the TV, that's driving the media. So it's that uniqueness of your shape, going inward, getting to know yourself, and then you can be the best person you need to be. And that's the story of Your Health is Your Wealth, largely with CCH.